The rain had stopped, leaving the air thick with a scent of wet dust and the mournful cry of a lone coyote echoing across the valley. Silas Blackwood stood outside the Silver Spur saloon, the knot of his necktie tight against his throat. He's seen men come and go, fortunes made and lost, and the relentless march of progress slowly erode the untamed wilderness, but the undercurrent of unease swirling through Copper Canyon felt different, heavier. He's been nursing a lukewarm cup of coffee, observing the uneasy faces peering from the saloon windows. Walker's arrest had ripped a hole in the town's already fragile sense of order. Accusations of assault and attempted murder were levelled against the young man, fueled by the whispers and lies Elara Thorne had expertly sown. It felt orchestrated, a pawn in a game Silas couldn't quite grasp. Still brooding, Blackwood. Silas turned to see Jedediah Stone emerging from the saloon, his face etched with the familiar lines of weariness. Just observing, Marshal. Seems like a whole lot of dust kicking up for not much reason. Reason always finds a way to surface, Silas, Jedediah replied, brushing dust from his trousers. Just a matter of digging deep enough to find it. I'm more worried about what we dig up than what we find, Silas muttered, glancing towards Elara Thorne's lavish camp just outside of town. A stark contrast to the withered shacks and dusty streets of Copper Canyon. The woman exuded an air of refined power that felt utterly alien to the rough-and-tumble nature of the territory. She's a puzzle, all right, Jedediah conceded, his eyes narrowed as he looked towards the camp. Too refined for these parts. The arrest of Walker had been the culmination of Elara's whispers, a deliberate act to create chaos and manipulate the town into a position that suited her agenda. Silas had his suspicions, but he lacked the concrete evidence to prove anything. "Did you speak to Harding?" Silas asked, referring to the nervous, sweating sheriff. "He's avoiding me," Jedediah said, a hint of frustration in his voice. "Says he's got more pressing matters, but I see the way he glances at Thorne's camp. There's something he's not telling me." Suddenly, a commotion erupted near the town's edge. A small crowd had gathered, their voices laced with a mix of anger and fear. Silas and Jedediah pushed their way through the onlookers to see a commotion unfolding near old man Hemlock's office. Hemlock, a ruthless businessman with a reputation for shady dealings, was surrounded by 2 deputies. He was being escorted away in handcuffs. "What's this about?" Silas asked, his hand instinctively moving to the butt of his pistol. "Assault, conspiracy and murder," Deputy Hayes said, looking pale and harried. "Seems Hemlock hired the rattlesnake gang to intimidate Walker and silence any witnesses. Cyrus, well, he didn't make it." Cyrus, a local shopkeeper and one of Walker's closest friends, had been found dead earlier that morning. Hemlock's involvement cast a dark shadow over the town, but Silas suspected there was more to the story. "Who hired Hemlock?" Silas asked, his gaze sweeping over the faces in the crowd. No one answered. The air hung heavy with unspoken fears and hidden loyalties. "The gang was paid well," Hayes said, mopping his brow. "Enough to make them forget about any conscience they might have had." "And who was willing to pay that kind of money?" Jedediah pressed, his eyes narrowed. "That's what we've been trying to figure out," Hayes said, wringing his hands. Silas turned his attention towards Elara Thorne's camp. From his vantage point, he could see her standing on her veranda, observing the scene with an unsettlingly calm demeanor. Her eyes seemed to pierce through the chaos, searching for something or someone. "It all leads back to her," Silas murmured, more to himself and to the others. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the crowd, stumbling towards them. It was Keller, Walker's father, his face bruised and swollen. "He set me up," Keller shouted, his voice raw with pain and betrayal. "Walker didn't do anything wrong. Thorne and Hemlock, they framed him." "Who set you up, Keller?" Jedediah demanded, grabbing his arm to steady him. "Hemlock's men," Keller gasped. "They attacked me near my claim, said they were collecting a debt, but I know it was Thorne behind it all." "Why would Thorne want to hurt you?" Jedediah pressed. "She wants my land," Keller choked out. "She wants the vein of Quartz. It's got properties in it, properties. She's been trying to buy it for years." "Quartz." Silas remembered a hushed conversation he's overheard between Hemlock and one of his men. Something about a discovery. Something valuable. "What kind of properties?" Silas asked, his mind racing. Keller shook his head, his eyes filled with a mixture of fear and anger. "I don't know, but Thorne and Hemlock, they want it. They'll do anything to get it." Silas felt a chill run down his spine. The pieces were starting to fall into place, but the bigger picture remained frustratingly out of reach. "She's playing us all, Marshal," Silas said, his voice low and grim. "We need to find out what's so important about the Quartz." Jedediah nodded, his expression grim. "We're wading into something deep, Silas. Something beyond our understanding." As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the valley, Silas Blackwood looked towards Elara Thorne's camp. He could sense her eyes on him, a silent challenge in her gaze. He knew that the truth lay buried beneath layers of lies and deceit, and he vowed to unearth it, no matter the cost. The land itself seemed to bristle with tension, the whispers of restless spirits carried on the evening breeze. Suddenly Nahka, the Apache shaman, emerged from the crowd, her eyes filled with a profound sadness. "The spirits are restless, Blackwood," she said, her voice soft but resonant. "There is a darkness growing in this land. You must be careful. The path you walk is fraught with peril." She paused, her gaze locking with Silas's. "Beware the woman who hides her heart behind a smile. She is the key to the coming storm." Nahka turned and disappeared back into the crowd, leaving Silas with a chilling premonition. The storm was coming, and he knew with a certainty that settled deep in his bones that the battle for Copper Canyon was far from over. It had just begun,